Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Goeiemiddag, dames en here. Dumelang bomme libontate. Welcome back. It is day 4 of our online engineering week. And again, we are excited. Vandag praat ons oor chemiese en mineraalingenieurswese. That is the topic for today, chemical and minerals engineering. I've got a wonderful panel consisting of chemical engineers or chemical engineers in the making, and we are going to have a wonderful discussion. Just before we start, I would just like to remind you, all information is available at engineering.nwu.ac.za. If you go there, you will see one of the drop-down menus is Study Engineering, and you'll be able to get access to the engineering test, information on the engineering week, where all the links are available, bursaries, etc. You'll find them all there on the web. So gaan maak gerus 'n draai, daar's ook 'n Afrikaanse weergawe, engineering.nwu.ac.za vorentoe streep AF, dan is alles in Afrikaans beskikbaar, en as jy klik op die drop-down menu, sal jy sien daar's 'n paar opsies, die ingenieurstoets, die ingenieursweek, beurse, en jy kan dalk byvoorbeeld registreer om op die ingenieursdatabasis geplaas te word. Again, we would like to invite you, send those questions. Today we specifically focus on chemical and minerals engineering. So if you have any questions, make use of the chat function in YouTube and send them. And I have a very keen group of people alongside me who would be willing to answer all of your questions. So please don't hold back. Moenie terughou op daardie vrae nie. And especially all the parents, a word of welcome to all the parents, aan al die ouers. Dit is vir ons lekker om te sien, dit is nie net leerders wat inskakel nie, maar ouers wat ook inskakel. Julle vra goeie vrae, and it's important to ask those questions, because if we don't ask, we will never know. Right. So we're going to start this afternoon by talking to 2 of our alumni. They studied chemical engineering at the Northwest University, and they're going to talk to us about their experience in industry. So they will tell us what you can expect becoming a chemical engineer in the workplace. So first up, we have Lou Sumbane Prinsloo, all the way from Nelspruit in Mpumalanga. Lou, good afternoon. Tell us about yourself, who you are, from where are you, and then we'll take it from there.
Good afternoon, everyone. As Corneels says, my name is Lungi. I am currently working at SAP in Botswana. I finished my studies, BEng in 2015, and then I started a master's immediately, MEng, finished that in 2017, and then I started working at SAPI in 2018, and I am still there now. So actually, at the 1st of June was my SAPI birthday. I turned 2. So SAPI is a pulp and paper mill. So we make newsprint. That's the paper they print newspapers on. And then we make craft liner board. And one of the uses for that is when you buy Take-A-Lot packages, that necessary stuffing they put in there. That's my salary. Thank you very much. And we make dissolving wood pulp. Now, that goes in everywhere, but the most common uses are in textiles. So when you read your label and it says it's made of viscose, we did that. And your car seats, they go in there. They go in cosmetics and sometimes food. Your McDonald's ice cream, that's us too. I am in the utilities department. So where I work, we basically supply everything the other parts of the mill need to run. We supply steam. We supply the electricity, we supply the cooking chemicals, but we'll get to that later when we discuss day-to-day running. My position is process engineer, energy and services. So what we do here is we create the steam and electricity and air, and we treat the water coming in and the waste going out of the mill.
Thank you very much, Lungi. So that's always the funny thing. You study chemical engineering, and then you start working, and now you are called a process engineer. The same is true for Sasol, but we'll get to that right now. But you are in the SAPI environment, you're in the paper environment, and I think that's one thing that I can already say to the viewers out there. The amount of places where you can work with a degree in chemical engineering is vast. This is just one example. Dis net een voorbeeld. Daar's baie plekke daar buite waar 'n chemiese ingenieur kan werk. So, Lungi, starting with you, now we know who you are and where you're from and what is your job title, but I have a question for you. And again, as I said yesterday, sy het haar B-ing, dis 'n 4-jaar graad, en sy het haar M in haar meestersgraad in ingenieurswese. Daai 2 grade het sy. So, what do you do on a daily basis? Summarize quickly, what is a day in the life of Lungi Sumbani Prinsloo?
I wake up at 6. I'm kidding. So what I do in my department is, firstly in the morning, I come in, I check on all the qualities. We run a coal-fired boiler, so we need a certain quality water to put in there to avoid corrosion and also for the processes we're producing the steam for. So when I come in the morning, I check, is all my qualities in spec? Is everything where it should be? And then from there, we have a morning meeting with our multidisciplinary team at Val, multidisciplinary, where all the members of our team, the process engineer, the maintenance guys, the production people, we come together and we all give each other a snapshot of what we've looked at. So for me, it would be on the environmental side and on the quality side. So I see how much trouble we're going to be in with the government if we don't change things. And then the maintenance guys tell us what they're going to be doing for the day, what they're going to be fixing, and then our production plans for the day. So that's 9 o'clock. And then for the rest of the day, I work on my projects. So we'll get to those in a bit, but currently they are focused on our environmental compliance because all the laws are changing everywhere. The government is getting stricter and stricter and stricter. So my job there is to look at my section and the larger mill and work with the other process engineers in the mill to engineer out our non-compliance. That makes sense. So say, for example, we are allowed to use 45 million liters of water per day, and we are currently using, for example, 38 million. How do we ensure that when the mill expands, as always must, how do we stay within that license? Effluent-wise, we are only allowed to produce 25 megaliters, and we are producing 22, or we are over at currently. How do we bring that down without slowing down the mill? So that's basically what I spend my time doing. And then there's also other small day-to-day running issues. You know, this pump trips, or even forbid the boiler trips, and then we all come in, and every one of the specialities I mentioned earlier, we all come in and try to solve the problem. So, and also attend a lot of meetings.
Ja, ek kan baie beamoen wat sy sê en baie vergaderings. Ons onderskat dikwels dat ingenieurswese of enige beroep daar buite is nie net die beroep nie. 'n Groot deel daarvan is vergaderings. So as ek vinnig net kan reflekteer op wat sy gesê het en dit is baie belangrik. Prosesingenieurs, chemiese ingenieurs, in die geval waar sy is, kyk sy in die eerste plek, voldoen die aanleg aan dit waar die aanleg moet voldoen. Word daar geproduseer wat moet geproduseer word op die regte hoeveelhede, regte kwaliteit. En daarvoor het mense 'n fundamentele verstaan van die proses nodig. Wat vir my wonderlik is, en dit is 'n baie belangrike plek waar chemiese ingenieurs 'n baie belangrike rol speel. Lungile, wat ek jou reg hoor, is daar so Lungie dat daar is reëls, daar's wetgewing wat daar uit is in terme van omgewing. Dit gaan oor water, dit gaan oor gasse wat afgeskei word in die atmosfeer. En ons kan nie maar net as industrie aangaan nie. Dit is sleg vir die natuur, dit is sleg vir ons as mense. So chemiese ingenieurs het ook 'n belangrike rol om te sorg dat industrie skoon is en dat ons nie die omgewing beskadig nie. Daar het ons 'n belangrike rol om te speel. So aan die een kant hoor ek jy praat van projekte wat kan lei tot die uitbreiding van so 'n onderneming, van so 'n aanleg, dat daar meer gemaak kan word, wat uit die aard van die saak vertaal in meer geld vir die maatskappy, maar aan die ander kant ook om op 'n omgewingsvriendelike en 'n veilige wyse te sorg dat daardie produkte gelewer kan word sodat ons papier het om op te skryf of papier het vir ons takealot pakkies, hoe ons ook al daarmee werk. Maar dis een aspek wat daar genoem word. Now, we also have somebody else in our studio, but there's just a question that springs to mind before I'm moving on to our next guest. Lungi, I've asked this 2 days ago. I've asked that to one of the mechanical engineering students. Now I'm going to ask that to you. You are a woman. Engineering, chemical engineering more specifically, would you say this is a suitable career for women out there? If there are girls out there listening, they're wondering, should I become a chemical engineer? Yes, no. What would you tell them?
I am also a feminist, so my answer is hell's yeah, become an engineer. We are so used to thinking of engineering as a man's field, but I mean, if you have a brain and you can do mathematics and you can know that H plus 2 hydrogens and an oxygen make water, then you can be a chemical engineer. In my department particularly, it's still very male, but we are on the older side of the mold. But we can go out there and we can still make a difference, and we can still produce the same way the men can. So in my graduating class, I think we were, not my graduating class, my first year class, in the entire engineering faculty, there were only 50 girls. I remember that because in FIAP, that's a first year module that you'll do, we were all CEOs of our group. So we are there and we can do the same job. And these two ladies sitting here will attest to that. It is not difficult, because as a chemical engineer or a process engineer, you don't have to go open the valve that is twice your size. I have those in my plant. I don't have to open them. I just ask someone else to do it. So that doesn't stand in the way. And it is changing, and it is because people like us go in there and make a change, and we inspire and encourage one another to do it. So I wouldn't say being female has been an obstacle in my career choice. It's actually been an asset, because I am only 1.5 meters tall. So when this tiny little lady walks in there and says, okay, let's get down to business, mense is geneig om te luister.
Dankie Lungi. Ek hou van daai vraag en ek vra antwoord en ek dink vir die wat daar buite luister, veral die dames daar buite, die meisies daar buite wat luister, ek dink dis goed om daarvan kennis te neem. En Lungi, ek kan dalk net dit sê, selfs al is jy 'n man gewees, jy sal nog steeds nie die kleppe op 'n aanleg oopmaak nie. Die operateur sou jou bloot nie toegelaat het nie. Want is hulle aanleg. Yes, but that's important, and I think it's important that we should note that even if you are male, you're not going to open those valves, and if you do, you're going to get into a lot of trouble. There are operators specialized, they open those valves. So even if you have the physical strength to do that, you will not open a valve without the permission of an operator. They operate. You are an engineer, you're not an operator. Yes. So with that, we move to our second guest, and I'm very glad about this, because this is a very important aspect that we will also cover within chemical engineering. And that is, of course, all the way from Germany. He's talking to us, Jan Pieterse. Guten Mittag, Jan, herzlich willkommen hier bei uns. Wir sind ganz erfreut, dass du auch heute Mittag zusammen mit uns hier sprechen über chemische Engineering. Sehr, sehr wichtig. Ich habe sehr viele Fragen für dich auch heute Mittag und ich freue mich zu hören, was du zu sagen hast. Auf jeden Fall. Yes, that was just a short welcoming, blah, blah, blah. And that's how life works there in Germany. So, Jan, vertel ons 'n bietjie van jouself. Wie is jy, van waar kom jy en wat is die pad wat jy tot dusver gestap het? Ons luister graag.
Oh, vielen Dank, Corneels. Ich denke, es ist auch genug von Deutsch wie ist. Ons praat eerder Afrikaans en Engels, dan kan ons almal verstaan. As Lungi het julle 'n bietjie 'n stukkie van my memory lane ook gevat. Paadjie is net bietjie langer. Ek het matriek geskryf in Hoërskool Evander. Party mense sal beter weet waar Sekunda is. Dis nou net so diskant Sekunda, ander kant van die Sasol aanleg. Het in Potch begin met chemiese ingenieurswese in 2008. In 2011 het ek besluit, na 4 jaar is dit genoeg. Ek wil ook 'n bietjie geld verdien. Ek by Sasol begin as 'n candidate chemical engineer. Het 18 maande training gedoen, ook op die aanleg gewees, selfde routine gevolg, oggende kom jy in, kyk na die trends vir die vorige dag, wat het fout gegaan, waar moet jy regmaak, wat is gebreek, wat moet jy dalk breek, lekker dinge, en dan na 18 maande, dan word jy 'n prosesingenieur. Dit verstaan ek self nog nie, maar dis hoe dit gebeur, en het die geleentheid gehad om van een aanleg na die volgende een toe te gaan, en die prosesse te leer. Ek was ook by utilities, so ek het ook stoom gemaak, gewas op die aanleg, waterkondensaatstelsels gekyk. Om 'n ketel te kook was vir my soos koffie maak. So toe skuif ek na die volgende aanleg toe. Waar daar reaktors, distillasiekolomme, bietjie meer chemiese prosesse betrokke was. En dit was op die kloor-aanleg gewees. Daar het ek vir 6 maande projekwerk gedoen en basies weer dieselfde trends. En ek is bietjie veelsidig ou, so dit raak my vervelig om dieselfde te doen vir 'n lang tyd. Ek oorgeskuif na die monomere aanleg toe, wat ek weer met die gasstelsel gewerk wat inkom. En dis basies die beginsel waar jou kar se dashboard en skrikkelik baie plastiekdele wat jy aanvat en sien elke dag vandaan kom. En terwyl ek daar was, het ek ook agtergekom in ingenieurswese het jy 'n keuse, so of jy bly tegnies of jy gaan meer in bestuur in, raak betrokke in finansies en die klas van dinge. So verlang ek bietjie na die NWI en in 2014 het ek ingeskryf in die Vaal kampus. Ek het op daai stadium in Sasolburg gebly en daar op die aanleg gewerk. Het ek 'n BCom in entrepreneurskap en ondernemingsbestuur gedoen. Toe het ek bietjie finansies geleer, ekonomie, iets heeltemal anders as die aanlegwêreld waarin ons gewoond was. Dit was vir my ook baie lekker gewees. En ek was by Sasol gewees op die aanleg tot en met 2017 en toe die geleentheid gekom om in Duitsland my MBA te kom studeer. Ek het begin in Oktober 2017 en my program was 'n kombinasie tussen Duitsland en Portugal. So ek het 'n bietjie rondgereis ook. Was in Portugal gewees vir so 4-5 maande totaal vir die MBA. En in 2018 het ek die MBA klaargemaak en besluit dis eers 'n bietjie 'n breek en het by die huis gebly. Duitsland het die voordele wat daarmee kom. Ek het my tweede dogter opgepas want sy het bietjie tweede prioriteit gekry met die MBA saam. En in Mei 2019, so 'n bietjie meer as 'n jaar terug, het ek by Ella Container begin. Dis 'n familieonderneming hier in die Emsland in die noorde van Duitsland, baie naby aan die grens Nederlande toe. En wat ons doen is mense wat bitter vinnig kantore nodig het of skole met corona as gevolg van die 2 meter afstand, dat ons gou-gou vir jou 'n gebou aan mekaar uit containers uit, met gemaklike kantore, klaskamers, hospitale, enigiets wat jy kan dink, ons vir jou daar uit. Dis maklik, het airconditioning sisteme in, alles wat jy wil hê. En nou is die vraag, ja, maar hoekom dit? Dis dan glad niks met chemiese ingenieurswese te doen nie. En vir my was dit om meer deure oop te maak. Dis presies wat chemiese ingenieurs ook vir jou gee. Daai sertifikaat is nie net toegang tot 'n aanleg nie. Jy leer ander skills in die program terwyl jy dit studeer. Die manier hoe jy dink, hoe jy probleme oplos, is ander skills wat jy leer. Die papier bly 'n papier, is net soos 'n driving license wat jy 'n kar gee, maar jy gee nie vir die tipe kar nie. Ek het toe besluit bietjie meer in besigheid in te gaan, familieonderneming. Ons het so, sorry, is 'n vlieg. 800 mense wat hier werk en op die stadium is ek die regional manager vir Northern Europe. My verantwoordelikheid is om die besigheid aan die gang te kry in Engeland, en Skotland, Ierland gedeelte. Ons bou die besigheid nou daar op ook redelik goed op die oomblik en wanneer hy op die been is, dan gaan ek beweeg na Finland, Swede, bietjie meer in die ooste rigting toe.
Thank you very much,
Dis eers
Jan.
genoeg.
Yeah, no, I think that's a mouthful, but that's wonderful. And there are so many things that I just want to highlight about what you just said. First of all, you started with your BEng, you did a BCom later on at the Vaal campus of the Northwest University, while you were working for Sasol, and you did your MBA. What's nice about that is, and I think that's an important thing that we need to note, is that you don't study and then it's done. We are lifelong learners. We will continue studying and continue learning, and that's a great testimony. That's the first thing I want to highlight. The second thing I want to highlight, because that's one of the big questions always asked by parents. Will I be able to work abroad with my degree that I obtained at the Northwest University? And I mean, your life is a testimony to that, to the fact that, yes, that's true. You can work abroad. You are currently working abroad. You are talking to us from abroad as you are working there. And the third thing I want to say is just, we started off with talking about SAPI. You talked about Sasol, and you talked about where you are now. And this whole thing, it's so talking about, I mean, we talk about paper, we are talking about chemicals, we are talking about like chlorine where you worked, that goes to plastics. Now we are talking about putting up containers. And what I like about what you said is, engineering provides you with a set of skills that opens the door, and you can go virtually anywhere where you need to solve problems creatively and come up with solutions for that. So I love what you said. I'm going to ask a question. Oh, the other thing is, I'm glad about the flies. It's not just in South Africa we have flies. It's also there. Even in Germany, they have flies. So a question I have is, you are married to a chemical engineer, if I'm correct. And I hear there's nice. The long and the short is, she did not study at the Northwest University. Now, I will not mention the name of the university where she studied. It's the university that's located in Pretoria. My question I have is just the following, because it's an important question. You are the same age, you studied at the same time at two different institutions. So my question is, you knew each other for this time period. Hoe vergelyk die twee grade met mekaar? How do these two degrees compare content-wise? I would be very interested to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, so like Corneels mentioned, my wife studied in Pretoria, and we always compared the degrees because she also studied in the same period as I did, started 2008, finished 2011. Both also started working at Sasol on the same plant, just different departments. And once you get to Sasol, it's really irrespective of where you got your degree from. You're more concerned that you are a chemical engineer, not a pharmacist that has arrived on the site. But fundamentally, there were quite a few differences. The one that stood out for me, and I think actually is an advantage to the NWU, is we did a lot more practical work in the time of the 4 years that we studied. So we spent time on the fundamentals. It's important always to understand the fundamentals first. But we also spend a lot of time on simulation programs. So we used HYSYS, we used Aspen. These were foreign to the students from the University in Pretoria. Not sure if it changed, and that's almost 10 years ago. But we had a more practical approach to handling the problems. And also at Sasol, they used Aspen and HYSYS as part of the simulation modeling tools. So for us, it was quite a smooth entrance into the job. We could do projects quite easily by just building a small section of the plant into the simulation programs, run different simulations, which is a lot faster, a lot easier than sitting there and calculating it in Excel. So maybe that was the biggest difference between the two. And
yeah, but
then from there,
if I can ask, with regards to the textbooks, with regards to the content, I hear this difference now, and it's an important question, and it's an important difference. I don't know where they are currently. At this point in time, we are still very much focusing on Aspen and ISIS. But with regards to the textbooks, with regards to the content, generally, do they differ that much, or are they very much the same?
Corneels, you will know the chemical engineering fundamentals stay the same. So even if you learn it in different languages, it will still remain the same. Water is water and steam is steam. So I actually sit here with like a kelder thing, and we have two sets of chemical engineering textbooks, one coming from NWU, one coming from the University of Pretoria, and 90% of them are the same. So I have double of chemical engineering design books, double of the maths courses, double of separation technologies, a bit outdated now. And to be honest, I haven't touched them again because it's just easier to go to Google quickly and find the thing you need. But from the content-wise fundamentals, you learn exactly the same thing.
Baie dankie, Jan. Ja, so en dit sal ons vind, dit gaan universeel dieselfde wees en dit maak logies sin, want die Ingenieursraad van Suid-Afrika, EXA, reguleer die kwaliteit van ingenieurs en maak seker dat die universiteite wat wel ingenieurs oplei, dat hulle voldoen aan die minimum kriteria. So dit is hoekom jou ingenieursgraad wat deur EXA geakkrediteer is internasionaal erken, en dit, soos ons net gesien het, Jan werk daar oor die waters in Duitsland as ingenieur, en dit is hoe dit is. Right, we're going to talk a bit about the curriculum. So I have one of the lecturers here also with me today, and that is Ntabiseng Leokwauke. Dumela Ntabiseng, bukai khompieno.
Hi, Kiteng, Corneels wena o bokae?
Uli nna ke teng, maar re tla o leka go bua English kapa Afrikaans, hobane ha ke itse kapa batho ba bang ba hutle Setswana sentle.
Ke tla kopantsha sekgowa sa ka ge Corneels.
Go siame ma. Maar wena o mang?
Okay, so ke nna Ntabiseng, and I hail from Klerksdorp. So the Northwest University Potchefstroom was actually the closest university to me, the most convenient to go to, and I have not looked back ever since because I'm still there. So I obtained my BEng degree there, and then I moved on towards completing my MEng. And in that space, while completing my MEng, I was working as a junior lecturer for the department. Then post obtaining my MEng, I got promoted to lecturer, and I am currently busy with my PhD in chemical engineering, looking specifically at coal and biomass utilization for fuel generation.
Thank you very much, Ntabiseng. So my question to you, linking now to what was said by Lungi, linking to what was said by Jan, can you give us just a broad overview of the important subjects within chemical engineering and the minerals program, if you can comment on that?
Okay, so essentially we are called process engineers because we're going to go and take a raw material and we are going to take it to the end where it becomes a valuable product. This can be a product, and it can be a service, as done now by Jan. So in terms of taking raw material and creating a product or something valuable out of it, generally you need reactor theory. You want to know how to react compounds, and you want to know how to control these reactors. And as Lungile has also indicated, her day-to-day is making sure that you stay within certain bounds. And this also follows some form of control strategies, okay? Then once you have your products, you're going to want to purify them into a variety of products, right? And here we make use of our separation theory. You learn how to design and how to control separators. And then in between these steps, from getting your raw material to reacting it, to separating it, you might need to heat and you might need to cool off materials. And here we also make use of heat exchangers, and we do this in our heat and mass transfer modules. We also want to know some bio-related type of work. I mean, we also work at fermentation, so we have subjects such as biotechnology, where we introduce you to fermentation type reactions and reactors. Then in terms of minerals processing, we have subjects such as geology, we have pyrometallurgy, and we have minerals processing that will assist you in the mining industry with your degree.
Thank you, Ntabi Singh. So daar's twee verskillende opsies. Mense het suiwer chemiese ingenieurswese, dis een opsie, en dan die ander opsie is chemiese ingenieurswese met spesialisering in minerale. So we have two different programs. There's the one program, it's pure chemical engineering, and then there's the other one, chemical engineering with specialization in minerals processing. What I've seen is, and that's quite funny, I've seen pure chemical engineers working in the mining sector, and I've seen people going the other route, working in the more pure chemicals sector. And the thing with that is, and it links to what Jan and Lungi said earlier, you are taught a certain set of skills, and you can apply that wherever you go, and you will use what you've been taught. We've now heard these comments from Lungi and from Jan and Tabi saying, what other places, where else do chemical engineers work than just these examples that were mentioned right now?
I think one of the first things that jump out at me is food industry. We do make it in the food industry quite well. Pharmaceuticals, we find chemical engineers working well in pharmaceuticals. I've had a fourth year that actually created a fourth year's project that was around bombing ATMs. Yes, we've done that. So a student wanted to know how to disperse ink within the ATM so that during a bombing, you find that the whole money is then stained with the ink. And the Reserve Bank actually allowed an actual ATM to get bombed by the student. So we make it even in those industries, hey?
That's interesting. But if we think about this, daar's so baie plekke waar chemiese ingenieurs kan werk. Ons praat van die myne, ons praat van plekke soos SHB, plekke soos Heineken, het ook plekke soos Clover. Al hierdie plekke, so die kosindustrie is definitief daar, die mynindustrie is daarso. Maar dan ook uit die aard van die saak, die finansiële sektor. So we also have alumni working for places like Deloitte, where engineers, specifically chemical engineers, work side by side with other people. And if you think about what Jan is also doing at this point in time, it's not your classic chemical engineering, but you apply the same principles. All right. Just as out of curiosity, and Tabi Singh, how are you dealing with this whole turning upside down with classes online? I know there are many pupils listening out there. How have you been dealing with this? How has it been for you?
So I think the beauty of lecturing is that sometimes you can't be at your own classes. And we've had to actually create videos of our own classes where we do recordings of our presentations and put them up and make them available to the students. So we've used that particular knowledge that you know that students can proceed without physical contact. So I've had to just make use of recordings, put them up for my classes to proceed. I've got 2 second-year classes and 1 third-year class that had to carry on. We couldn't stop just because we were hit by a pandemic, and we managed to proceed with class teaching and learning. We managed to continue with online tests, assignments submitted online. I've even gone as far as creating a virtual practical where my students in the past used to go to microbiology to do a practical there. We created a series of videos that they could follow and complete the practical.
That's wonderful. That's awesome. We have to adapt, and that's what we need to do in these times. And it's not just the schools that need to adapt, also the universities, they need to adapt.
That's true. And just to interject, Corneels, the other thing that we also do is teach courses on mines. And today, just before this meeting, I had to teach a course at a diamond mine. So that can also continue online on platforms such as these.
That is wonderful. So our last guest, she's been left for the end, the best we saved for last. It is Kanya Milazzo. She is currently a fourth-year student in chemical engineering. Kanya, tell us a bit about yourself.
Hi, my name is Nobukanya Gratitude Malaza, and I am currently a fourth-year chemical engineering student. I went to high school in Pro Arte. The truth is, like, I wasn't like one of like the 80 students, but I managed to get into the course, of which it's all about hard work and and just trying to like work through the course and trying to understand and stuff. So yeah, that's me.
Thank you, Nokokanya. So let's start by talking about this. You're currently in your fourth year. I'm now treading on dangerous ground. Did you take 4 years? Are you in your fifth year? What was your route? Let's share with the people out there.
Okay, so I'm currently doing my fourth year, so I'm still on record. But it was a rough road ahead. I had to like carry modules in between. And yeah, like sometime like I think like last year I was doing 8 modules for my second semester. And then this year I'm still doing 8 modules in my first semester. So yeah, it's all about hard work. I think yeah, I was freaking out when I was taking the modules and everyone else was saying I was crazy. But yeah, I think you just need to push and hard work. I know everybody's like staring me like, oh my gosh, 8 modules, but it's doable. I think it's doable. So yeah.
Okay, so I think that is perhaps a very positive message for prospective students, but also for people who are currently at school. So you are an example. You're currently still on the 4-year plan, so you can still finish
Yes.
within 4 years. So here's my
Yeah.
question. So when you failed your first subject, because you told us there were some subjects that you failed, when you failed your first subject and you had to carry that, I'll explain that in a sec to the people. How was that? What was going on in your head when this happened, and how did you overcome that? How did you manage to get where you are now?
So I think what happened was, okay, let's just start why I failed. I failed because I became lazy. That's why I failed. Yeah, I failed because I became lazy. And yeah, I was just like, you know what, I can do this. High school mentality came in. You know what, I can study day before it's me, So that's how I failed. And then I think I was disappointed because that was the very first time I failed in my life. I hadn't failed anything. And yeah, I was depressed. I was not okay. My mom even had to like tell me to come back home, and yeah, we talk about things because I was just not okay. And it came to a point whereby I almost failed every single module that I had because of just this one module that I failed. So I think the first time you fail, you just need to kind of sit down with yourself and ask yourself why you failed, and then you start working at it and just trying to see how to correct your mistakes. So obviously, one thing you need to understand: when you fail, it's not the end of the world. I think everyone that fails for the very first time, they feel like, oh my gosh, it's the end of the world. I'm dying. I'm not going to be okay after the situation. Yeah, but you get through it and then you realize that no, there's more to life than failing one module. And then yeah, you pick yourself up and you go on.
Kanya, I think we should clip just this whole section right now that you just spoke, and we must put it on YouTube. It will go viral. It's a motivational speech. It's brilliant. But you know what I love about what you just said as a lecturer? You know what I love what you said? You said the reason why you failed, and students will not tend to say this, and it's not always that. But you were honest. You said it was because you were lazy, and hats off to you for being honest om te erken dit is nie daai een se probleem of die een se probleem of dit nie. Ek het dalk net nie hard genoeg gewerk nie. So what I take from that is if you work hard, you will be able to finish your degree, well, given you have the aptitude. And that's what I say. If you can get into the program and you are willing to work hard, and this is really what you want to do, you are able to complete your degree. And hats off to you. In 4 years, if all goes well, you'll obtain your degree at the end of this year. I just want to quickly explain this whole thing about what you called carrying a subject. En ek verduidelik die sommer want sommige studente kry hierdie nie altyd reg nie. So in die jaar wat ek studeer, kan dit gebeur daar's 2 semesters. There are 2 semesters. First semester and a second semester. So it can happen that you fail a subject. Dit gebeur dat mense druip, jy druip die vak. Then the next year you repeat that module. And that's when you carry that module in Afrikaans sê ons, jy sleep die vak want jy sleep die vak saam met jou. Many times students come to me and they say, ek het hierdie vak gesleep. And I'm like, no, jy het die vak gedruip, jy sleep hom nou. You failed the subject, now you are carrying it. So that's just a technicality. I hope there are some students listening that they can get this right. The difference between failing and carrying. Die verskil tussen druip en sleep. But the point I want to make is, when you fail a subject, it's not the end of the world. If your timetable allows it, you can take those modules. On top of that, there are rules regulating this whole thing. But as in the case of Nokukanya, that means you will have to work exceptionally hard. But it is possible to catch up. It is possible to still finish your degree in 4 years. And I think what you also said, and I think that's important, many students come to university, and I don't want to condescend schoolwork, but school is a breeze compared to university. It's just not the same. School is rarig, en ek het al hoeveel keer gehoor dat mense sê, joh, as ek so hard op skool gewerk het, as wat ek op universiteit werk, nou, ek sal 380 onderskeidings gehad het. It's a different way of working, and you adapt to that. And what I'm trying to get at is, if you're willing to work hard, but the point I want to make is, so some of these people, full distinctions, they get to university and then they fail their first subject. Heaven forbid, may that not happen. En dan dryp jy jou eerste vak. En dit is trane dal en dit is dit. It's not the end of the world. It's perhaps a wake-up call, and that's perhaps what happened in the case of Nokukanya. It's a wake-up call. Let's get back to this. Let's work harder and let's do that. Nokukanya, did I summarize what you said well? This will be my question. What would be your message on top of that brilliant message you already gave to the prospective students out there? Why should they consider chemical engineering as a career?
Okay, I didn't really, like, when I got here, I wasn't the one that actually chose my modules. I must just start at, like, matriculants, please do apply, because I applied at one school. That was my first mistake. I applied at one school and I didn't get accepted there. So because I thought I was the one, but obviously, like, you need to apply at other universities, just apply there. And then at the other universities, I didn't apply. I didn't apply here. My mom was the one that actually applied behind my back. So she wanted a chemical engineer. And then obviously I didn't like it at first. I think the first 6 months, because it was a lot of chemistry. Like the first year, like the first semester, it's a lot of chemistry, not really chemical engineering subjects. So I didn't really like it. And then the second semester, when I, did process, that's when I started loving it. So you need to understand that it's not about everybody else liking it. It's about you liking it. So you first need to like the chemical engineering, because you're going to be miserable if you don't like it, because it's 4 years of your life that you'll never ever get back. So you need to love it. So that's the first advice I have to say, that you need to love chemical engineering. You need to be passionate about it. You need to understand why you are doing it. It's either you want to help people, which is my route, helping poor people, nonprofits, or you want to work in the industry to solve big problems. You want to travel abroad, so it's dependent on you, on what you want to do. So it's all about your passion, and you know if you're passionate about it, if you're passionate about solving problems, then definitely this is a career for you. But if you're not, then if you're not a hard worker also, then this is not a career for you. So yeah, so it's dependent on what you like and what you dislike. Yeah, so that's where I'm at.
Okay, thank you for that, Kanye. So basically, in summary of what you're saying, you, number one, have to really want it. Two, you have to be hardworking, because if you're not going to put in the hours, it's not going to pay out, And three, if you have a mind for problem solving, so whether it's going to be working in industry, whether you're going to be like Corneels and myself in the lecturing. I mean, Corneels has gone from industry and he has come back to lecturing. Or whether you're going to work in a bank, the opportunities are endless with the degree. But number one, you have to be willing to put in the work, and number two, you have to have a passion for problem solving. Right? Is that the gist of it, kind?
Yes, definitely. If you don't have the mind for problems, or you lazy to solve problems, then this is not a career for you. Because yeah, you're gonna struggle if that's the type of person you are. So you just need to know what you like. Like, I didn't know what I liked when I got out of high school. So I really do advise, like, matriculants to actually sit down and actually find out what they really really like, before they attempt something. I was very lucky to actually have liked it. So don't be me. Know what you want in matric, yeah, and then you'll be fine. You'll be fine.
And just to conclude with that, I think that the nice thing today is we are able to have engineering week, where students can actually come and find out what engineering is all about. When I finished my matric, such was not available. You had to research from some old book, find out if it is what you think it is. And then only once you get to work on site, I think in my second year, I got to work at every sim. And I think that was the very first time I found out what engineering is about. And at that point, I realized, okay, I could do this. It's a bit dirty, given it was at a cement factory, but it's a bit dirty, but I love it. And I had the opportunity to also go work for Cecil, also in my undergrad. Very different, cleaner in terms of the type of work that you do on day to day, but at the end of the day, the principles stay the same: problem solving, day to day. And we are now lucky that platforms such as these exist, where prospective students can look into whether they really like it, whether they really are interested in following this career path. But thanks, Kanye.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much. Thank you. Thank you. I got lost there for a while, but that is the life, the online life. The one moment you're online, the next moment they drop you, and then you have to reconnect. So I'm back. But I got the last part of the discussion. I'm sorry I missed a part of what you said, Nokukanya, but I can watch it later afterwards. I can watch the video. But one thing that Ntabi Singh is saying, and then I will conclude. I will look if there are any questions. If there are any questions out there, please type it in the chat function as vra asseblief in die chat funksie op YouTube. Dan sal ons dit regstreeks hierso kan antwoord. Jan is hier van Duitsland, Lungi is hierso al die pad van Nelspruit, en die res van ons is hierso studente, dosente, alumni, die hele span. But what's nice, and I agree with what Ntabi Singh said. I remember I was a Sasol bursar, and I remember I studied, and at times it was difficult. There was not the motivation. And then during the holidays, because we have to do vacation work. So sometimes you have to work 6 to 8 weeks in the December holidays. Yes, I'm putting it out there that people know what to expect. And you get paid. Well, at Sasol, we got paid. And the nice thing about that was I actually did my 6 weeks or my 8-week vacation training. I did it at Chlorine, which is where Jan also worked for a while. And you know what's nice about Chlorine? You know electrolysis, where you put in and you get, you know, what you do at school, you just do that large scale. And they get these, it was these big railroad trucks that came in with salt from Botswana, and it was just the brine they had to make and all those things. It was so much fun. And here's the point. I enjoyed it so much that it motivated me to continue doing the work, because, and I'm telling you that now, some subjects you will love, some subjects you will detest, but you need to pass them all to become a chemical engineer. And that's life. Such is life. We don't like everything. You will have your beans and you will have your meat. It's good, both. So the long and the short is we need both to do that. But yes, I'm going to ask Lungi, and then I'm going to ask Jan, and then Ntabiseng with a final conclusion. We'll keep our eye whether there are any questions. But I'm going to start there. And as a concluding remark, why would you recommend chemical engineering or chemical engineering with specialization in minerals processing? Let's start with you, Lungi.
Thank you, Corneel. So I think we've covered the why. I mean, starting from, I mean, I'm glad the panel, we've got someone, you know, studying school and a spring chicken in industry and a veteran in industry, and our different experiences show, I mean, what I'm currently busy with is I'm trying to branch out into management. I'm basically being trained in my department to become a manager. And just as a side note, in our process engineering team, the majority of our process engineers, myself, my colleague in the department next to mine, and our boss, and 2 other engineers here are from the Northwest, so we are representing here. But I become a chemical engineer, besides the opportunities that it presents to you as evidenced by Jan's journey and different things you can do with it, it teaches you a way of thinking where you problematize your own life, your everyday experiences, and that is the best way to learn. It makes you a better person, it makes you a better engineer. Like what I'm looking for now is, how can we as chemical engineers enter the spaces of management, of business, of, you know, things that we thought weren't for us, and take our way of thinking there to help societies, to help our companies to get paid more, whatever floats your boat. You can do that with the education that we get. You can do that with our philosophy of thinking that we learn in our course. Also, it's fun. Who doesn't want to start off with, oh, this is a problem for us, and end up with, I've engineered the solution for it. I enjoy my work, and like Ntabiseng said, when I started studying, I thought being a chemical engineer was just sit in a basement and you tell people what to add to what to get what they want. But it's more nuanced than that. It's more variable than that. And if you do not want to be doing the same thing every day, this might be for you.
Right. Thank you, Lungi. That's great. I see there's a question. Leandri Botma, ons gaan nou by daai vraag van jou uitkom. But let's first give Jan an opportunity. Jan, why would you say? Why would you recommend chemical engineering?
For me, it comes down to the skill sets. Like you said, especially in this day and age we live in now, you need to be able to adapt. The chemical industry is also known for the cycles and so on that it goes through. There's ups and downs. And chemical engineering gives you a skill set that no one can take away from you. So it just opens a lot more doors that have some alternatives to go through. Also, if people at this stage having longer and longer life expectancies, it might be that you need to work till you're 75 years old. Then you can go on retirement. You need to keep your options open, and chemical engineering is just the right tool for that in the current situation that we're living. I would say for accountants, for lawyers, once you start in the job, industry is pretty much set, and I have the flexibility now. I can move across any industry I want to. With chemical engineering and a little bit of finance and economical knowledge and skills that I've gained with the additional degrees.
Thank you very much, Jan. A shout out, of course, to Professor Ray Everson, because you're talking about people retiring at 75. Well, he's in his 80s and he still comes to work every single day. Not now, because nobody is allowed to go to work now, but he still goes to work every single day. He's a passionate chemical engineer. He was dean at his day. He was school director at his day, but he's still coming in. So it looks like chemical engineering is not a career, it's a way of living, and it never leaves you. You live a chemical engineer, you die a chemical engineer. That's basically what happens. And Tabi Singh, we have questions, nice questions. So the first question is from Leandri Botma. Ek gaan hom Afrikaans vra en dan sal ek hom in Engels vra. Sy wil weet die twee programme, suiwerchemiese ingenieurswese en chemiese ingenieurswese met spesialisering in mineraalprosesering. Daai twee. Sy wil weet is die een makliker as die ander ene. So the question is, you have two programs, pure chemical engineering and then chemical engineering with specialization in minerals processing. Is the one easier than the other one? How do they differ? Let's start. I'm going to ask an additional question. Is it more difficult? Is it not? How broadly do they differ? Tabi Singh.
Sure. I think let me start with is the one easier than the other, you know? As a pure chemical engineering person myself, it is definitely much more difficult than the minerals part. I'm joking. I'm joking. Look, at the end of the day, when you start off with your degree, you'll do the same modules up to your third year level. And at that point, you'll start to branch out, and some will specialize into minerals processing and some will continue with chemical engineering. But one is not more difficult than the other. It's just that the focus then becomes different, okay? I think the reason why we can then at a later stage be able to jump between the two, myself, I've done that. I found that there are nicer people at the mineral side. So I've gone from my clean chemical engineering degree to an MEng that specializes in minerals processing, because I look at coal now. But I also look at the reactivity of coal. So I do make use of my BEng degree or my clean chemical engineering degree. But I don't think one is more difficult than the other. I think the difference just lies in the processing at the end there. You'll have the same baseline. The first 2 years will be the same. And then when you get to your third year, some students will go into geology, ore dressing, and pyrometallurgy, whereas the other students go into reactor theory as well as biotechnology.
Thank you, Tabi Singh. I do think it's also important to note on this that these two programs only differ by 3 modules. It's geology on this side, biotechnology on this side, and then you have ore dressing and you have pyrometallurgy, and here you have an additional module in biotechnology and a follow-up module in reactor theory. So it's only 3 modules spread over 4 years. Not that big a difference. So net die vakke is net, ons het 3 vakke wat verskil. Aan hierdie kant geologie, ertsbereiding, pyrometallurgie, aan hierdie kant biotechnologie 1, biotechnologie 2. Dis 'n derde en 'n 4-jaars module, is nou 'n tweede jaar en 'n 4-jaars module, en dan reaktor teorie 2. So dis nie so wyd wat dit verskil nie, maar ek wil 'n meer fundamentele antwoord vir jou gee, Leandri. En dit sal wees, die vraag moet nie wees wat is makliker nie. Dit is nie die vraag nie. Die vraag is wat moet jy doen? En of dit maklik of moeilik is, moet irrelevant wees. As dit is wat jy moet doen, sit in om te kan doen wat jy moet doen. Just want to repeat that in English because it's important. The question is not what is the most easiest thing. The path of least resistance. That's not there's a better question to ask. The question is rather, which path should you take? And regardless of how tough it is, you choose that path, you work hard, and you get to where you're supposed to be. So to prevent big politics and fights within our school, we are not going to put a final verdict on which one is more difficult. We can do that offline in the tea room once we are allowed back on campus, but there will be various differing opinions on this. Follow-up question. Tessa Buys, baie dankie vir jou vraag. Sy wil weet, het chemiese ingenieurs baie te doen met alternatiewe energieproduksie? Indien nie, watter veld binne ingenieurswese doen? So the question is, does chemical engineering have a lot to do with alternative energy producing? If not, what field does? Ek wil gou kyk, by wyse van net 'n hand opsteek, dan gaan ek weet wie om te vra. Wie kan daarop iets sê? Okay, let's hear. Lungi has something to say. Let's hear Lungi from Sapi Mbombela. There we go.
Definitely. I wrote down here, where do chemical engineers work? And my short answer was anywhere where there's a flow of material involved. So right now in our boiler is, I think we are a sixth the size of ESCOM, basically. And we are already treading water in as far as environmental things are concerned and carbon footprint. So we are looking in that direction. And so what we are discussing is turning it into a multi-fuel boiler, burning more green fuel. And part of our process is actually we've got two green energy boilers that we use here. And as part of my EIT project, which I actually delivered a day before I got appointed as an engineer, process engineer, was to use our effluent to create biogas. All those things are energy projects, and they are alternative energy projects. So it won't be just the chemical engineer involved in there, because, for example, I wanted to use the biogas to produce electricity. I don't know much about how turbines work, so they'd be a turbine specialist or a mechanical engineer, and then you have to put that electricity into the grid or find some way to incorporate it into your electricity usage. You need a heavy current engineer in there. So there is no short answer of these engineers work with alternative energy sources. It's going to be the whole bunch of us, and we'll all be, bringing in our own spin to the whole team. But yes, as a chemical engineer, you will definitely be involved, depending where you work and what industry you're in. You will be involved in alternative energy.
Lungi, what I like about your answer, that's actually stating something that we need to take note of. There's not one engineer that can do everything. In many times, you will work as a team. And if the company cannot afford all the engineers, sometimes you will even be forced to work beyond your discipline to a certain extent, because, I mean, if there's no specific engineer, then who else is going to do this? And then you learn to do these things. Jan, just out of curiosity, weet jy van enige chemiese ingenieurs? Ken jy enige chemiese ingenieurs wat tans bietjie in die hernubare veld werk? Ek vra sommer nou so van die blad, vra ek sommer so, as jy dalk weet, of as jy self met dit te doen gehad het al, deel gerus met ons. Jan, jammer ek val jou in die rede. Ons hoor jou nie, die klank het weggeraak van Duitsland af. Ons sien jou, maar ons hoor jou nie. Jan,
Okay, ek dink
terwyl jy daar's jy nou terug. Kom ons hoor wat jy sê, Jan.
Ek sê, is vir my ook 'n groot passie, die hernubare energie en sustainable prosesse en so aan. Dis iets wat ek baie streng volg ook op LinkedIn. Baie groot, veral in Engeland en so aan, is waste to energy, waar jy huishoudelike afval basies brand en omskakel dan in elektrisiteit in. Self was ek nog nie betrokke in dit gewees nie. En ek het ongelukkig ook nie veel kontakte nie. Ek het een kontakpersoon, maar dis op 'n solar plant waar jy nou maar net die sonkrag omsit in elektrisiteit in. So daar het ek ook nie regtig baie agtergrond in wat die proses is of hoe die chemiese ingenieurs daarbey betrokke is nie.
Reg. Baie dankie Jan. Maar ek dink die punt wat oorkom en ek hoop dit antwoord daai vraag, is dat chemiese ingenieurs gaan ook werk in die veld van hernubare energie. Ons kan eintlik ook praat oor groen steenkool wat ook iets is waarna ons navorsing doen, maar daar is ook 'n voorbeeld van waar mens kyk na alternatief. En alternatiewe energie is nie beperk net tot son en wind nie. Dis baie wyer as dit. Biogas kom daarby en ons kyk definitief na biogas self binne ons eie skool en die fakulteit. So daar word na die klas van goeders ook gekyk en groen steenkool wat bietjie paradoksaal is tot 'n sekere mate, maar ja, dit is daar om die aantal SOx en NOx af te bring skoner omgewing. So yes, in short, we will definitely be able to play a role, and there are various fields where chemical engineers are most definitely already playing a major role in this. Right, I have another question from Christine Rousseau. Christine, baie dankie vir jou vraag. En ek gaan hom vra en dan gaan ek sê wat ek ook wil hê. En Tabiseng, ek gaan hom vir jou gooi. Hoe gereeld eksperimenteer chemiese ingenieurs met chemikalieë om iets te toets of om 'n produk te produseer? So die vraag wat sy vra is, how often do chemical engineers do experiments using chemicals and test chemicals and produce new products? How often do that happen? And my sub-question would be the following. What is the difference between a chemist and a chemical engineer? Wat is die verskil tussen 'n chemikus en 'n chemiese ingenieur? Tabiseng?
Okay, so in terms of if I first come to university level as a student, from your first year, you will start working with chemicals. You'll start having experiments with chemicals. Then when you move over to your second year, where we do practicals in your chemical engineering modules, you'll start doing process type of practicals. But even in there, chemicals will be involved and interactions between chemicals need to be understood. So when you go over to working in a plant, it depends where you are, you know. Where you work will define the type or the amount of time you'll spend working with chemicals. But at the end of the day, a chemist or a person who studies chemistry will fully understand only the chemistry side. But the person who studies chemical engineering will then be able to upscale whatever the small scale chemical reaction can do to create a bigger product, okay, to create a final product. So there will be more steps involved, but chemistry does play a role. Hence, as part of your training, you will have chemistry in your first year of studies. Corneels, are you happy with that, or do you want to add more to it?
Daar is 'n baie goeie antwoord in Tabiseng en ek dink dit is belangrik om tussen die twee te onderskei, maar hier's nou 'n interessante punt wat ek wil maak. Sometimes it works out like this, that within a company like Sasol, for instance, they will do research on new catalysts. And in that department, doing the research, R&D, there will be a combination of people who studied chemistry, at least did an honors in chemistry, master's, PhD, and chemical engineers. So there are fields where it overlaps. And another field that just springs to mind is pharmacy. I know of at least two people. The one finished his chemical engineering degree and then he continued with a master's degree, which he also finished now, in pharmaceutical sciences. And the other one is currently busy with his master's also on the pharmaceutical side, because you can imagine, yes, you have the formulation of the chemicals, of the medicine, but that needs to be produced on a large scale. And that's where chemical engineers come into the picture. Nokukanya, I'm going to ask you, Sheila of Chela, ek is jammer as ek jou naam verkeerd kry, van Kaam, wat vra, kan chemiese ingenieurs in 'n medisinale veld ingaan? Can we enter the field of medicine without even seeing that question? To a certain extent, I've already answered that, but I'll get to that now. I'm going to pause that question. Shalla, is it Shalla? Ek is jammer as ek verkeerd uitspreek. So my question to you, Nokukanya, you're currently in your 4th year. You are doing your scriptsy, you're doing your final year project. Quickly explain to us, because it links to the question of do you work in a lab and do you do experiments? Can you just briefly give us an overview of what your 4th year project entails? You get a project proposal, Rev 2, right this afternoon.
Okay, so basically my project is a project dealing with emissions, from power stations and stuff. So from coal power stations specifically. So basically, my project is my project's purpose is to reduce the emissions that um, um, coal like electricity producing companies or factories are emitting into the environment. This is because those companies, like there are laws now governing air and stuff, whereby they need to reduce their emissions in the environment. So basically, my project entails me finding ways into making an ESP, which is a device which is used to reduce emissions going out into the environment, with a particle diameter, um, ash, ash content, and stuff like that. So basically, you're looking at those parameters into reducing the amount of emissions that you emit, and then just changing the parameters and then modeling a new equation whereby it can be used in the big scale industry. So that's what my project entails. So basically, I will be doing experiments. I'm only starting next week to do my experiments. I'll be using an ESP container at the end department. So basically, yes, we do experiments. So it depends on your project. There are people who are doing bio chemical and stuff, and then they are doing their projects inside a lab. My lab is going to be an ESP. So yes, you do experiments and stuff. So it's just dependent on which project you chose. So yeah, so my project entails I work with an ESP, so I'm at the ESP lab.
Thank you very much, Nokukanya. Christine, ek hoor wat sy sê, dit is my baie goeie antwoord wat sy gee, want dit sluit aan by wat Ntabi Seng 'n bietjie vroeër gesê het. Die eksperiment word gedoen op 'n kleiner skaal, en as die parameters en alles dan mooi uitgepluis is en dit is geoptimaliseer, dan kan ons gaan en ons kan daai tegnologie implementeer op 'n groter skaal. Nou 'n chemiese ingenieur gaan daai sprong moet doen, gaan daai opskalering moet doen, opskalering. In elk geval die upscaling na 'n aanleg standaard om dit te kan doen. So, question to you, Ntabi Seng. We get this question a lot. Can chemical engineers go into the field of medicine? Kan chemiese ingenieurs in die lyn van medies gaan? Hoe werk daai? Moeilike vraag, maar jy kry vir hom, Ntabi Seng.
Thank you for that, Corneels. Look, I think we do have the ability to join into that field. Obviously, you will not go in as a medical professional, but you have the ability to work in that field within the parameters of your own studies. You should be able to have an input in terms of design of something. I've seen even mechanical engineers working alongside with us in terms of 3D printing of bones, So this does happen. So yes, we are able to work in the medical profession, but within bounds. So you will not go in as a medical profession yourself.
To add to that, Ntabi Seng, what I know is if you want to continue in the field of biomedical engineering and that, you'll have to do a postgraduate. So you can do an undergraduate, because remember, biomedical engineering, it's still two fields. It's medicine on the one side and it's engineering on the other side. And those are two various different, quite far apart, but not that far apart. I mean, your heart is a pump, your kidneys are filters, If you think about that, we are also sort of a part, ons is ook 'n aanleg in minne. Maar as 'n mens in daai lyn wil gaan mens in elk geval 'n graad eers in ingenieurswese moet doen en daarna kan mens dan spesialiseer. So dis moontlik. So dit is besef net dit is twee baie uiteenlopende velde. Maar daar is raakvlakke. There always where these two areas can complement one another. Right. We're almost at the end. I will look out for any questions, but final comments. 2 sentences, final comments. Nokukanya, last question from your side. Last comment.
So basically, what I can advise you, if you want to take this career path, definitely try and do research in it before you get into it, and then when you've gotten into it, then you start working hard, and you basically just keep it in mind that I have a goal, and you stick to it. I think that's the most important part, and what most of the students here are doing. You stick to it, and you make sure that you succeed.
Good. Mtabi Singh, final comments from your side?
I'd like to quote one of my favorite colleagues, Professor Hein who likes to say that chemical engineers should actually be looking at fixing the problems of the world. You know, when you're looking at water scarcity, we play a role. You know, when you're looking at cleaning the environment, we play a role. When you're looking at making use of whatever minerals we have left efficiently, we play a role. So yes, if you're looking to fix some of the problems of the world, join chemical engineering, but work hard, be prepared to work.
I like the comments of Professor Hainu Magus and Mtabi Singh. Those are true words spoken by you. Jan, final comments from your side?
Ayan, any comments on your side? Final sentence or two?
Yeah, I can just also comment on what you just said about saving the world. So if you look at the global goals from the United Nations, a chemical engineer can almost address every single one of them, at least develop a solution or play a part in developing a solution to one of them, which is also part of my passion. I also look at that. That's also what I strive to do as a chemical engineer in my career, regardless whether I'm now at the business that's renting out containers or on a chemical plant. But for me, chemical engineering is definitely a career degree that you can bank on. In the future, it's quite stable. I think it's a very good opportunity that you will find work as well in this career. And if I had to, in about 15 years' time, give advice to my children, I will definitely also advise them to study engineering.
Thank you very much, Jan. And then the last word before I conclude, Lungi, Nelson.
It's the same for me. If you know how to go from one step of a problem to the next, visualize that process, or you think you can learn to, then you can be a chemical engineer or process engineer or a process systems engineer. Actually, none of my friends who studied with me use chemical engineer on their LinkedIn profile. When I was busy studying, didn't think I would find it fulfilling. Going into work and finding a problem and going, by the time I go home, I'm going to have solved this and I'm going to do this, and being part of a team. Group work is not punishment, it's preparing you for work. You will be part of teams, and if your team works, your work will be fulfilling. That's it from my side.
Thank you, Lung. Corneels, do you want to take over?
Yes, I'll take over. I'm back. That brings us to the end of this afternoon session. I want to thank everyone for joining us. I also want to thank our panel. Jan Alipad uit Duitsland uit, baie dankie, danke schön. Siabonga, all those lovely thank yous to everybody. I'm so glad you all joined. And vir almal wat ingeskakel het, baie dankie vir julle vrae. Ons is baie dankbaar dat julle saam geluister het. Môre kyk ons na meganiese ingenieurswese. Tomorrow is mechanical engineering. If you have questions about mechanical engineering, especially there were questions about aeronautical engineering, we also have somebody to talk to you about that. Please join us tomorrow, 3 o'clock. Bring those questions. We will answer them while we are live. En as daar enige verdere vrae is, moenie huiwer om ons te kontak nie. Baie dankie. May you have a wonderful evening. 'n Geseënde aand vir julle almal. U sale sentle salaligasle. Bye.